What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mystics MMOs. I'm your host, Mystic Raven. All right. So today, I want to introduce you. I'm on the PTS because I still got to get, I believe, one piece of the Tuscavans. But this is the build I'm working on for my Mageblade, my PvE build. Now, like I said yesterday, I do not follow meta. Okay. Why? Because I know how to count. Okay. I know. Not saying I'm better. I'm just saying I do my thing. And if people like my builds, and they have in the past, that's good. If people don't want to use my builds, that's fine as well. But I'm good. But today I want to introduce you to my new Mageblade PvE build, and this is Recluse. Now, the reason I've chosen to call this Recluse is because I am very lonely in my world. I've had to go against everybody one time or another, and it gets lonely. So, you know, because, I mean, what's numbers, right? I don't know. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. Character sheet. Max Magicka 33,000, max health 19,900. My magic recovery 14, spell damage 4,000 as of now. Spell crit 46% as of now. 58 on weapon and 31 on weapon damage. Penetrations are 8-9. Everything's going into max Magicka. Now of course we're going to be using the Thief Mundus. Since we've gotten a critical chance nerf, right? Everybody's pretty much stuck with the Thief. There is a way around this, but the problem of this is your precise. This is a base modifier. You can get around without using this Mundus. You can. But I'm not building that right now. If maybe one day I'll explain how to do that. But if you guys will notice in my precise weapon, it's a percentage, right? So whatever my base value of my crit is, the percentage modifier is then multiplied to the base value. Okay? That's how we get scaling effects. Okay? So, of course, we are going to use a precise. We're going to use the ghastly eyeballs for our food, giving us max magic and magic recovery. So, we're good there. Now, on the back bar, we're going to see that we're going to lose a little bit of that critical value because we're going to be using an infused weapon. Okay, now if you want to stay with the critical values, you can. That's optional. You can do what you want. But when you switch over, you get that percentage modifier applied. So, but, I definitely understand, especially how funky when you were going through the rotation things get. So if you want two precise, you can do that. If you want to go with one infused for the enchantment, you definitely can do that as well. Options, options, options. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into the set, shall we? We're going to be using Tuscavans. Okay. Now, once again, it's going to be precise. The weapon damage enchantment on this one, I really like this. If you want to go with put that on the infused, you can do that as well. It's not a bad idea because infused actually will bump that up and reduce the cooldown. Okay, so let's say we wanted to switch that around. Just just showing you guys what you guys can do. So let's go to the weapon enchantment. And let's switch that around, actually. Alright. So we're going to take this one, and then we'll go with our fire on our front. Alright. Alright. So if we switch this around, and we go with the weapon damage, we'll get 452 versus, but we'll get a much better uptime. Okay, and then you can put the flame there too. You'll just lose a little, but you're going to get a lot more uptime. you know, during the rotation. If you can, you know, keep up with it, you'll get a lot more bang out of your buck. So we'll go with this one instead. So we'll do flame damage on the front, precise, infused, weapon damage, enchantment. Okay. We're going to use the Maelstrom Perfected Lightning Staff. It doesn't need to be perfected. It doesn't. The only thing the Perfected gives you is penetration. You don't need that much penetration. You do not. You don't. But since Tuscavans will carry, right, because you get for 5 seconds. You get 5 seconds to swap, to lay down your other rotation, right? You're going to probably miss a light attack because you really do want to go ahead and get all your AoEs down or your dots. That's the most important thing. Once this stacks, we don't need to use the trap. The trap is going to be a start, and I'll get into that later. So you only have 3 abilities and a light attack to throw in to the rotation to keep your uptime. Okay, it's very simplistic in that element. All right, so Molakina. Now this is going to be medium. We're going to use three, count them, 3 medium pieces here. Now the reason being, now I really want to kind of go over this. Now the critical damage is a percentage modifier here. It's not a base value, but it has a cap. Your crit damage modifier has a cap of up to 125%. They capped it. I said that's the thing they needed to nerf. Instead, they capped it. So we have a 6% modifier to a critical damage at all time. That's now, if we exceed it, that's not why we're wearing the medium. It's a boon that we get it initially. But the main reason we really want this is the 6% to the spell damage. We want this modifier in agility. That's why we want to run the 3. Okay? That's the important element. Okay? Now, we're not going to be using any heavy. You know, if you wanted to cut down one of the mediums, slot in a heavy for the Undaunted passive, you know, because we're only going to be running at, you know, a 4% versus a 6%. You can do that. But in my honest, and then you wouldn't need to glyph this with health. You could do that. But I'm opting for 3 medium, glyphed health, 1 infused. Why don't I run 7 divine? All of my watchers, all my subscribers know about what? Diminishing return. Right? My infused is going to give me more health. Thus, on this bar, I'm over 20. And on this bar, I'm almost 20. We want to keep what? We want to avoid the diminishing effect. If we went to another divine, even with the thief, we'd only get point something percent, not even to a full percentage. So it becomes what? A diminishing factor. All right, so Molakina adds weapon and spell damage. When you consecutively light attack 2 times, you trigger overkill for 6 seconds. This increases our weapon and spell damage by 560, but also increases the cost of our abilities by 8%. Right? This is the most powerful monster set in the game. The reason why people didn't utilize the set was why? Because of the 8% additional cost factor. Thus, we're removing the negative effect with False God. Now, this is Divine, Max Magica. This gives us 2 critical values, our Minor Slayer. It gives us, if you get perfected, you get a little bit extra weapon and spell damage. You don't need perfected. It adds a little bit, not much. So, you know, it's a perk. But if you don't get the perfected, the normal version's fine. But notice what it does. Reduces the cost of our magical abilities by 8%. So it negates the Molakina. So that's why we utilize it. Then when we kill anything, we restore 2,454 magicka, and then we gain major expedition. Now this is light, of course. Molakina medium Max Magicka, Divine. So that's important. Then we're going to use one piece of Tuscavin's gear. I've put it on the belt. Divine Max Magicka. False God, Divine Hands. False God, Legs Divine. False God, Feet. Then we have Tuscavin's. We need two Tuscavin's jewelry. Two. We need a weapon, 2 jewelry pieces, and 1 piece of gear. Now, I opt with 2 infused and 1 bloodthirsty, but a lot of people go 2 bloodthirsty, 1 infused. I would rather have the damage up front. The reason being because bloodthirsty only kicks in when it's the last 10% of damage. I'm losing an extra 100 and something spell damage, 104 spell damage 90% of the time. That's not acceptable to me. I want that damage up front. I want that little extra damage. So 2 infused, 1 bloodthirsty. So Tuscavin's neck, False God ring, Tuscavin's ring. Okay. Now, let's go into the skills here. Primary bar, Degen. Now, the way I've set this up, the Mage's Guild bonuses, we're still going to get the nice factor into our Max Magicka and our Magicka recovery by 2% for the slot. And this is a dot. We want to utilize a lot of dots, especially when we're going to be proccing up Kina, because it takes 2 light attacks, plus whatever spammable we're using. Now, I put Swallow Soul on here, but you have a lot of options. If you like Swallow Soul, go with Swallow Soul. Okay, by all means. Swallow Soul, 8-3. If you want to go with something like Crushing Shock, for a spammable, let's say, there's interrupts that's going to be needed. Now you can utilize an interrupt. So let's say we're going to go with Crushing Shock. So you see we're doing 2/6 of each elemental types. That's well over 9k. Okay. So Crushing Shock's actually going to be, a lot better in my opinion. But let's say you don't want to do that and you want to go with the Mage's Guild. Okay, the Sigic Order, and you want to use Elemental Weapon, you can do that as well. So these are 3 ranged abilities. I like the staff because it gives me range. Now, if you want to use daggers, if you want to, you can. Okay, so let's say we wanted to go with daggers, and I'll show that to you too. But we'll get into it. But let's say hypothetically, I want to. Let me see. It should be right here. Daggers. Okay. So let's say I wanted to use the daggers, right? And if you want to, you can. That stacks. And then if we hit it and we come back in, now we're up to 65.4. Okay. So if you want to go there, you can. You can do that. But the wall, I just prefer the Inferno staff. The reason being, all of my single target abilities into the passive get an extra, 9% now, I want to say? 10%. So we're getting an extra 10% damage on single target abilities since the update. Lightning, of course, 10% on AoEs. Okay? So all single targets are on the Inferno staff. If you want to go daggers, you can do that. Heads up. Okay. Debilitate. Merciless Resolve. And then you'll notice I have Camouflage Hunter and Flawless Dawnbreaker on this. Why? Why do I have these two? It's very important. Since this update, Fighter Guild passive has changed. Right? I'm going to get 6% spell damage for the slot. I want that scale factor. The more my base damage increases, the more my critical damage goes up without relying solely on a critical damage modifier. Now the Shadow Mundus now is going to be more obsolete given the fact that there is a critical damage modifier cap. So you're not going to be seeing the Shadow, even if you could get up to 100% without the Thief, you would opt what? Base damage. Very important how we understand the numbers. Very, very important. Back bar, the lightning staff. Same thing. You're going to notice I have two. Now I'm going to use lightweight beast trap versus. Now, if you want to use race against time for major expedition, you can if you don't have it. But as a mage blade, I already have it with twisting path. So I'm going to opt for the lightweight beast trap just to initially get my minor force. But remember, when Tiscavans kicks in with the full 10 stacks, I'll get this buff anyways. So when I'm trying to keep the uptime with Tiscavans, I only have 3 abilities and my primary ulti set in. Now I'm using Shooting Star, once again for the scaling, but you have a lot of options here if you don't want to use it. Now I'm going with Shooting Star, knowing the fact that the flame debuff is going to be applied to the boss. Thus, this will scale higher. Okay, but once again, we're going to get that 6%. Now, a lot of people are like, well, you don't use Sap Essence. I can put Sap Essence here, but it's a spammable, and it has to be within a radius. So I'm going to use Mystical Orbs. I'm going to use Twisting Path, and because I'm using the Maelstrom Lightning Staff, I'm going to use Unstable Wall. Okay, so we have all of the effects down. Everything has been set, and this is how the skills are a little bit more optimized. If you're going to use Sap Essence, you would just replace it in Mystical Orb slot, or you can drop the Camouflage Hunter, though I don't recommend doing such. Okay, but if you want to switch the ulti, you can, and if you want to switch your spammable, those are 2 flex spots based on preference. So let's say I want to go in with Crushing Wall. Say I need to do interrupts, that's fine. I can do that. I can slot that. And now it's set. Okay? So there we have that. Now let's go ahead and get into the buffs and show you what everything looks like when it's all set up. I'm just trying to get my stacks. That's delayed. And you'll see I'm at 6.7, 72% crit. Now, if I want a little bit more crit, I can get up to another 1% by using a light. But given the fact that I'm getting my extra spell damage, I've opted to keep the medium. Now we're at 71 with the weapon buff. So we're going to get a lot more out of it. Okay? Once the stacks get up there, you don't have to apply the major anymore, okay? So there we go. We're at 74 with the 72. It's nice. It's really, really nice. Okay? So there you guys have it. My Recluse build. I want to thank you guys so much. When you guys, you know, ask me to do anything, you guys know I'm going to bring it. And I always do. And no offense to the meta, but on this channel, why do we say it? Because it's not, you know, always the most effective tactic available. It's not always. As always, I'm Mystic Raven, this is Mystics MMOs, and it's always death to the meta. Thank you guys so much. Have a nice day.